Authority out of Minnesota started talking about this experiment that they did to try to work to bridge the political divide. And we'll talk more about the origin story as we move forward. Um, but the task before us is that work of repair, uh, without despair, without superiority, regarding elections, and without contempt for those who voted differently. So, in this presentation, I'm going to tell you more about Braver Angels, including how the organization views polarization and what we can do about it as individuals or as a group here in Nebraska. So I want to define polarization a little more specifically by looking at affective polarization, and that relates to emotions and attitudes, because that's what Braver Angels really tries to impact. Over the last few decades, our affect, our emotions and attitudes towards our own party has either stayed the same or gotten better. Okay. But views of the other party have gotten much worse. We're often filled with animosity, contempt, and certainly distrust of those of a different political party. It's not just about issues. It's about how we regard our fellow Americans who differ from us politically. So affective polarization is especially dangerous because we've seen many people become willing to do anything to defeat the other party. And we've tended to become unwilling to admit to faults on our own side. So we can see our side as incredibly diverse, but the other side as all the same. We treat people who disagree with us as if they are worth less than us, and they're certainly not worthy of joining our family. The good news is we have more in common than we think. In fact, Braver Angels and the League of Women Voters has a lot in common. Both groups are grassroots volunteer organizations committed to defending democracy. Both are fully inclusive and diverse. Both are nonpartisan. Both are dedicated to promoting informed and active participation in democracy. Both fully welcome differences. They listen to different perspectives respectfully, and each person feels as if they belong. The mission of Braver Angels is to strengthen our democratic republic by bringing Americans together to bridge the partisan divide. We try to understand the other side's point of view, even if we don't agree with it. So last week on PBS NewsHour, on Wednesday, Judy Woodward runs, many of you may be familiar with this. She runs a Crossing the Political Divide special. She had on there Dr. Francis Collins, who's the previous director of the National Institute of Health, and Wilk Wilkinson, who is a trucking manager out of Minnesota. And Wilk was sending all kinds of emails off to anybody at the CDC or at the NIH about the COVID rollout. And he was really angry. He lived in rural Minnesota. They weren't seeing the spread that cities were seeing. And so anyway, there was a lot of, woo, who is this? Do I have to look at this again or hear this? Anyway, they decided to come together the Braver Angels way and really listen to each other to try to understand the other's point of view. And out of that came an understanding that, gee, the way the data was rolling in nationally was really lacking. And Dr. Collins had no idea that in the rural areas it wasn't nearly as intense as in the cities. Wilk didn't like the mandates, really resisted, wanted to be able to help other people understand why it would be a good thing to do. And so NIH and the CDC started changing the way they messaged. And now they get together and talk a lot. In fact, they were both at the convention that my daughter Julie and I attended this last summer. So they don't agree with everything, but they certainly did come together to understand what was going on. And I do want to encourage you to go take a look at that PBS clip. It's about 16 minutes and it's really impressive. So in our communities, we seek to engage those we disagree with, looking for common ground and ways to work together. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You all know that. But as an organization, we look to have those conversations that may or may not lead to common ground. Okay. Braver Angels has red, blue, and other, which are independents, equally represented. The leadership is balanced. The organization currently has more blues and reds, but we're actively seeking to have more red participation. So Jim, if you could play the Dan video right now, that would be great.
Okay. And I don't know if I'll have to have you stop sharing. Nope, it looks like I can just replace you. So
okay.
Hang on just a second and I'll start it. Let's see. Maybe. Let's see. It might be several seconds. Sorry.
Oh, I love having tech support. I have been so upset about this.
Okay.
Fellow Reds.
Okay. Oops.
My fellow conservatives. My name is Dan.
Okay. It's ready, but hang on a second. I just have to get back to it.
Share. Okay. Do I need to stop my share?
Well, no. Hang on a second. I think it'll work now. Let me. Yeah, let's see. There it is. Okay, it will start right now.
Jones. I am a member of the Red Caucus of Braver Angels.
I'm gonna restart it.
Fellow Reds, my fellow conservatives, my name is Dan Jones. I am a member of the Red Caucus of Braver Angels, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience.
Are you all hearing it?
Being a member of Braver.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm not.
Okay.
2 or 3 years. I was aware of the organization. I was kind of reading about it in the news every now and then. And I had a couple blue friends who had joined the organization, people I respected, but blue friends. And I just wasn't so sure about it. To me, it seemed like, some organization that, they're just trying to gather all the milquetoast moderates in the country and get them to sit around a campfire and sing Kumbaya. And, I have really no interest in that. I'm a very small government conservative. I want government to be so small I can barely see it. I could be considered a radical in many of my views, I'm sure. And it just didn't seem like a place for those views to be spoken. Didn't seem like that would be a good environment for me, an accepting environment for me. And I just felt like there were more important things to do in the country. But I took a risk, and I went to the Braver Angels convention last year for the first time in Gettysburg. 2023 in Gettysburg. And I got to tell you, this was the best civic experience of my life. I've never felt closer to my fellow Americans, and I've never felt more hopeful about the future of America. And I got to tell you, I don't wake up a lot of mornings these days in America feeling hopeful. But when I am in the midst of my fellow Braver Angels members, I feel hopeful. I realize that there are actually a lot more like-minded people out there, just like me, including people on the left in the Blue Caucus, with whom we have a lot of agreements. Believe it or not, there are a lot of things that we have agreements on. And that's what you discover at Brave Rangers events. That's what you discover at the convention. That's what you discover at events and in talking with fellow members. So I just wanted to let all you know that you will find people from every perspective you could possibly imagine at Braver Angels. And whatever your perspective is, it's going to be welcomed. And we're going to give it a listen, and we're going to hear you out, and we're going to have polite, intellectual, empathetic discussions about those perspectives. And you're going to learn things about yourself and about others and about your country. And you're going to discover things about your country that you love again. And I can't think of a better gift to give to an American than that. So that's been my experience. I got to tell you, it's one of the best decisions of my life to join Braver Angels. I'm so proud to be a member, and I just wish I could convince every American I know to join this movement. Thank you.
Okay. So you're going to have to share again now.
Okay.
And it should be the same place as where it was when we stopped. So.
Great. Okay. Okay. So, okay, application. Okay, now it's not moving. It's not, I'm not getting it to, okay, there we go. So in our communities, you can see Dan's, how it has affected him. We really constantly strive to be an organization that reflects the country that we seek to serve. It's a challenge. We want to find ways. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. Okay. Okay, I think I got the next one. Yep. So we do welcome people of all political persuasions to build this, because it takes all of us, not just red and blue, all of us, to move this effort forward and to get us back together, united. So this is a picture of the very first workshop after the 2016 election. In the back, you'll see two men with their fingers up. They are two of the founders. Well, the three in the very back are the three founders of the organization. And there's a red, a blue, and an independent there. Bill Doherty is right in the center. He's the marriage and family counselor. They brought 8 reds and 8 blues together for a whole weekend retreat in Ohio. And Friday night, people were like, arms crossed, and they were, I have nothing in common with those people. Can you believe that they think that? And so, I mean, they were like, woo, no way. They kept to themselves. They only talked to themselves, both sides. By Sunday, they were, you know, we have a lot more in common than we differ. We do disagree on, we agree on the issues, that we're concerned about for the most part. We may have some different ways that we want to solve that problem, but we can talk about it. And some of the people in this group, I met them at the convention, and there was a Muslim and a Christian, two men who really, they even have gone to each other's houses of worship. They share holidays together. So friendships have really been made across that divide. Bill, the three founders based this workshop on the concepts taken from marriage counseling. Okay. And you can see why they would think that. Originally the founders called the organization Better Angels, and because it was from Lincoln's first inaugural speech, where he was appealing to the better angels of our nature. But as Braver Angels has grown in our country, it has continued progressing. The name has changed to Braver Angels because we need to be brave, and we need to have the courage to address this divide that we've got going. There has been dramatic growth in Braver Angels since 2016. It includes major media exposure. Researchers have come forward to study the methods. In fact, if you go to a workshop, you have to fill out an evaluation. And they've begun working with some members of Congress to turn down the temperature there. So in 2017, the growth was beginning. Peter from Peter, Paul, and Mary, some of you may know that group, heard about Braver Angels, and he gave them some seed money to get some buses and take the Red Blue workshops across the United States. And so they did that for a whole summer. And they thought, maybe what we could do is we could take these workshops, develop them, and train some more moderators and spread the word that way. So Suzanne Jouvenet and I in Lincoln, both of us got trained as moderators at that time. In 2018 and 2019, they thought, whoa, this is we're getting interest from all over. We need to set up a way to handle this. So they set up state coordinators and had more skill training workshops. So then in 2020, with COVID, everything had to go online. And some people were able to handle that. Some of us were not. Okay. But they started to put debates about specific issues. They put those online. And a Braver Angels debate is not anything about attacking somebody. It's about one person states their views, another person states a different view, and then questions from the viewers are directed to the moderator to kind of help keep and it really does keep the discussion respectful. So debates went online. The election in 2020 really emphasized the need for depolarization. So in 2021, more media coverage. Braver Angels was being featured on podcasts, on major networks, and there was more research. They had enough years and enough events held that they were able to start to compile and see the trends and the changes that were being impacted. And they started working with some of the members of Congress. In 2022, Braver Politics came in, and we'll go into a little more depth about that. But that is is meant to work with local, state, and national elected officials. So now Braver Angels has over 15,000 members, 115 alliances, and they have had in their events that they hold and have been able to track. They've had over 5,000 events and 61,000 participants. So in Nebraska, in the fall of right after the election, in fact, the Sunday after the election in November, First Plymouth held a panel discussion called "We the People, Healing Our Democracy." That attracted 400 people. The sanctuary was packed. And there were 600 people who watched it online. So the people who put that together, some of whom are on this, and I hope to introduce them as we stop this presentation, said we need to keep moving forward, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So they got connected to Braver Angels and are learning more about it. And we've had a couple workshops. Attendance keeps growing. And so we're trying to move forward as a group, grassroots group in Lincoln, to form an alliance. And that's just kind of a central point to think about what's going to be relevant to the people who are interested in this. In Braver Angels, we have 3 categories of programs. Each program seeks to have individuals learn and think critically about people who may be different from them, whether that's politically, gender, race, ethnicity, rural, urban, or even a family member. So we have conversation workshops, and 2 of them that are offered are the Red Blue workshop and one on finding common ground. Those are longer workshops. They can be an afternoon or 2 afternoons, but you really get to know another person. We have skills training workshops, skills for bridging the divide or depolarizing within. Because it's important that we look at ourselves. We hear certain words or we see people acting in a certain way, and that can trigger us. And we can move back into our othering of somebody. So it's important that we become aware of that. And when we hear it with others of our same political persuasion, and we hear them going off about something, how do we bring them back to become more open to hearing a different perspective? There's also families and politics. That's a big one. People are not going to Easter because they're sick of the other person's point of view. Other programs that Braver Angels offers are experiences. So like there's one-on-one conversations. And these are really cool. There are topics and you get paired up one person to one person across the nation. There's one on the golden rule, red, blue, rural, urban, conversations about race, ethnicity, and culture, conversations across generations, conversations about immigration, and a new one are conversations about the Israel-Palestine conflict. So since 2020, there have been over 2,000 one-on-one conversations that have been held by pairs. And you just go online and sign up for one that looks interesting, and then Donna will match you up. Other things, other experiences that Braver Angels has, They have book and movie conversations. So you'll get a link to a movie and then you join the conversation. They're always thoughtful. And there's even a songwriting group that started during the pandemic, and they meet once a month and they create hopeful songs together. And there's also the local alliance, and that's something that we're working on creating, this little band of people who've come together at this point. So and also I wanted to let you know, there have been several League of Women Voters groups across the country that have used the skill building workshops to foster better discussions. So Braver Angels events helps people on all sides of the political divide to decrease their stereotypical thinking about the other side. They lead to, and I'll have to tap this because I didn't tap, okay. So they lead to seeing the others as individuals, not faceless people who for some reason are standing in the way of getting good things done. So in general, 70 to 80% of the participants in Braver Angels events say that they report a better understanding of themselves and others and changes in their perceptions, which may lead to a change in attitudes and action. So after participating in the Braver Angel programs, 68% reported a positive view of the other side. After one-on-one conversations, 97% had found common ground with someone across their political divide. The impact of the red-blue workshops, 85% reported feeling less estranged or angry. 87% gained significant understanding of the other side. 91% were able to find areas of commonality. However, this is really important. The goal is not to change views on issues. It's really, because that rarely happens. I mean, especially if there's not already a relationship of trust between the people who are talking. It's to raise awareness, to seek to understand. And we do change the views of each other, which is consistent with the Braver Angels' goal of reducing affective polarization. And it also helps people let go of their stereotypes, which allows them to find more collaborative solutions to the country's problems or local level. When we finally begin to turn down the heat and the rancor, we become more willing to go deeper, to discover the valuable information from a different perspective. Now, Braver Angels also has special groups who come together. The Angels of Color are a mix of people who are red, blue, or other, who don't identify as white or Caucasian. The Working People's Project are, again, politically and racially diverse. It's working class people, Americans who don't have a four-year degree. The Red Caucus has pulled together to strengthen the participation of conservatives and libertarians within the Braver Angels movement. So I want you to imagine what it would be like if we all approached our country's issues this way. So what's next? Braver Angels locally, which is just a small group of people, I want to let you know, we would like to expand, is working on telling the American story, building our network of concerned and involved citizens. Okay, so we're scaling at the grassroots, and we're wanting to form a Nebraska alliance with different groups, strategic partnerships like League of Women Voters, and to move forward to influence our institutions. The national convention, I mentioned that my youngest daughter and I went in June of last year, and it was absolutely incredible. It was like going to camp. Everybody had their ribbons that identified their party identification. You could sit down with anybody, any place, and your conversations would go deep really fast. My daughter, who is an independent and has never really been very political, basically cried through the whole first day because she was like, Mom, I just feel like these are my people. I haven't ever felt like I could just say what I thought and somebody would hear me. And this year, the very first night, 500 people, fairly evenly matched between blues and reds and independents. We watched the Biden-Trump debate. We were the biggest watch party, and that was very interesting. So, Braver Politics is a specific initiative. And it's designed to bring the Braver Angels message to officials across the country, both at the local, state, and federal levels, to help them find the skills and make commitments to working together productively across the partisan divide. So, if we have a little video, it's 2.5 minutes between Representative Dean Phillips is on the left. He is a blue from Minnesota, and Representative Dusty Johnson is a red from South Dakota. And they're talking about their connection with Braver Angels. So Jim, if you could get that.
Well, I found the link, but when I link on it, or when I click on it, it isn't doing anything. Does it do anything for you when you click it?
Yeah, this one, I don't know how to get the link.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it in the presentation, but what we can do, we'll put a recording of this presentation on the website. We could also have that link so that people can go. I mean, it'll be like next to this recording, because when I try clicking the link, it just sits there. I don't know why, but
so Jim, in the narrative part,
yeah,
you have to go way down in the bottom, and then
it says you may also want to watch this video where the representatives discuss their attitudes, but I'm not able to open it. I mean, I found what you're talking about, but
okay.
But when we post the recording to the website, we will also post this link separately,
Okay.
so that can be a reason people can go to the lincolnleague.org website later. So
okay, that sounds great. And the end product of Braver Politics is that citizens trust their elected officials, that voters of both parties trust the elections, and that our political institutions reflect a spirit of citizenship and common purpose. So it's a lot. I hope you do get a chance to go back. It's only 2.5 minutes, and take a look at it. It's
okay, then you'll have to get down. No, and then we can watch them. Then you can watch them.
okay. So at Braver Angels, we believe that we can be part of a movement that creates a positive way to engage others from a different political party. So I hope you want to join us. In closing, I want to tell you about some opportunities to do just that, including some that are quick and easy. So one of them is just go to the website. There's all kinds of things going on. Just poke around, you'll see videos, you'll see songs, you'll see events. Every week there's a letter that the executive director sends out reflecting on something that's currently happening in our country. You can text BA to this number, 66866. That'll get you there also. Now, you can become a member. If you become a member, you have access to even more information. Membership is $1 a month, $12 a year. You can still visit the website without becoming a member, and that's what we call subscribers. But you'll get more, if you become a member, you'll get more detailed information and lots of ways to get involved. So some people might scorn or scoff at our efforts to feel better about those, to engage and to feel better about people who are on the other side of us politically. Some may openly act against us coming together. But we know that polarization can only meaningfully decline when millions hear the message and see how more similar we are than different. So again, I want to leave you with Abraham Lincoln's quote, "I do not like that man. I must get to know him better." And bring that new friend into your mind. So I hope that you have a greater appreciation of his wisdom.
Barb, thank you very much. We have a couple of questions so far, and if anybody else has questions, please put them in the chat.
Okay, so Judy, just a second. I want to just invite everybody. If you want to join our local network and learn more about upcoming events, if you could just put your contact information in the chat, that would be appreciated. But go ahead, and what kind of questions do we have, Judy?
We have a question from Teresa Thompson. Are there any particular language and wording we can use that reduces our differences and leads to more respectful communication?
There is an approach, and it's called the LAP approach. And that's one of the things you learn in the skills building workshops. LAP stands for listen and accept and acknowledge somebody else's point of view. And then you ask permission to pivot. You know, I have a different experience with that. Could I share that with you now? And sometimes people say yes, and sometimes people say no. And then if they give you permission, you then get a chance to share your experience or your perspective. And so it's not like it's the interaction that is fairly constantly taught in the skills building workshops.
We have another question, and this one is from Susan Scott, and she asks, what is an alliance? You had referred to an alliance.
Right. An alliance is a formal structure that we're trying to get to in Nebraska. Nebraska is one of 5 states that doesn't have an alliance. It's the local go-to group who puts together all the events across the state, who's aware of what's happening, who spreads the word through what we call ambassadors. So it's just the central core organizing group. And so we're needing people to say, yes, I want to be part of this. And I'm really good at giving talks, or I'm really good and love to do workshops. I'm really good at data crunching. We need people who are wanting to join this and become our worker bees as we move this across the state. So it's just our central point, Susan. Other questions? Or do you need to know more?
We're getting some requests in the chat for more information, so you'll have that. We're getting emails, which is great. And as you all consider what other questions you might have, I want to tell you about the May 1st Lunch and Learn topic, which will be Why Politics Makes Bastards of Us All, which will be presented by Kevin Smith, who is the Leland and Dorothy Olson Professor of Political Science at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. He's a resident faculty member of the Center for Brain Biology and Behavior. And some of the things that he will be talking about are, do we apply the same moral principles to our political lives as we do to our personal lives? The short answer appears to be no. People apply different moral standards and forms of ethical judgment in the political arena. We are more likely to forgive transgressions of co-partisans, even as we vigorously condemn similar behavior in those we politically oppose. Sounds like a very interesting follow-up to this, to today's presentation.
Okay.
Any more questions? Our speaker for June 5th Lunch and Learn will be faculty members with the UNMC College of Public Health, who will speak on the topic of environmental justice.
And I would like to also invite you guys to another event. It's a totally nonpartisan group. It's called Justice in Action. I think you've had speakers here for Justice in Action. It's a local group of over 26 faith-based organizations who've come together and identified 3 areas of Lincoln to work together on access to mental health, on the criminal justice system, and also on affordable housing. It just happens that tonight at 6:30 at First Plymouth, there is a common solutions meeting where we're coming together to hear about the progress each of the task forces have made and what they've discovered, and to get ready for the May 1st Nehemiah Assembly, which will be out at St. Mark's. And that will be held with our political, our officials, our public officials. So tonight, if your faith group is not yet a member, or you are not affiliated with a faith group, you are still welcome to come and hear the progress on all of these issues. The unaffiliated group will be meeting up in the Pilgrim Room. And so you just come up there, and I think Joanne just put in some more information. So I hope to see you tonight at 6:30 at First Plymouth. The meeting will be no longer than an hour and a half. So they're always really good at starting and stopping. And we'll be learning also more about kind of how a large group of people can really hold the power in their presence.
Thank you, Barb, for that.
Okay.
We have another question from Summer Meyer. When is this year's Braver Angels convention?
Okay, so the next one won't be until 2026. This is Braver Angels is all volunteer. and so even though all those of us who were there this past year were really enthusiastic and wanted to come back together, it's not possible. And so it's already in the planning for 2026. But there's nothing that says that we couldn't do something here in Nebraska. And if you want to work on that, we could do it.
Do we
Anything?
have any other questions? Well, we invite you to join our League of Women Voters ranks and consider becoming trained as a deputy registrar to help with voter registration. You know, we've got a primary election coming up next week and a general in May.
Okay. And I want to thank everybody for getting here online and learning more about Braver Angels. And I look forward to making new friends.
Barb, do you want to recognize the folks who were involved at the event at First Plymouth?
Yes. So I saw Charlene is on here. So Charlene, can you like show yourself and say hi? Okay. Who else is on here?
Suzanne, I believe.
Suzanne? And so there she is. Okay.
And Heidi. Unless there she is.
There she is. Okay.
And Jean McGuire.
Okay. So Jean is not showing herself
Oh,
yet.
Jean's
There-
there.
There she is. Okay. We do have 4 or 5 others who are part of our planning group as we move forward, just not able to come on today. And thank you. That group put together an amazing event, and it really emphasized the need that the citizens in Lincoln are feeling. So again,
I have one more announcement.
okay.
April 26th from 9 to noon is the League of Women Voters of Lincoln-Lancaster County's annual meeting, and all are invited. Check our website for details. Please consider joining us.
Okay. All right. So who ends this? Does Judy end
You can
this?
do that right now. Yeah, we've got
Okay.
folks who are dropping off. So
Okay.
we want to thank everyone for attending and watch for us the first Thursday of every month. Thank you.
Thank you.